I was standing near the kitchen counter at Bradley and Natalie's place, nursing a beer and talking about last weekend's game with a couple of guys from work. It was one of those casual Saturday night gatherings, nothing fancy. About 20 people, good food, decent music playing in the background. My wife was across the room with her usual group, laughing a bit too loud after her third glass of wine. I noticed her glancing over at me every few minutes. That look she gets when she's about to do something she thinks is clever. Then she stood up. "Hey everyone, can I get your attention for a second?" The room went quiet. Bradley turned down the music. She had this huge smile on her face, the kind that makes you instantly nervous if you know her well enough. "I just want to make an announcement. Just so you all know, we're in an open relationship now." Dead silence. 20 pairs of eyes turned to look at me. I could feel what she wanted. She expected me to get embarrassed, to stammer, to beg her to stop talking. That's how this was supposed to go in her head. She'd been pushing boundaries for months, dropping hints about how boring monogamy was, talking about couples who explored their options. I took a sip of my beer, set it down, and looked directly at her. "As you wish." Her smile flickered for just a second. That wasn't the response she expected. Before she could say anything else, I turned to Grace, who was sitting on the couch to my right. Grace was one of my wife's friends, though I use that term loosely now. Tall, confident, with the kind of sharp wit that could cut through nonsense in half a second. She was single, successful, and honestly, she never seemed to buy into my wife's drama. "Grace," I said, keeping my voice casual, "you free this Saturday? I'd like to take you to dinner." Grace didn't even hesitate. She looked up at me with this absolutely wicked grin spreading across her face. I can do everything better than her. The room exploded. Someone dropped a glass. I heard Bradley mutter, "Oh damn," under his breath. Natalie's mouth was hanging open. And my wife? She completely froze. That confident smile crumbled into pure shock. Her face went from smug satisfaction to absolute panic in about 2 seconds flat. "What? What are you doing?" she finally managed to stutter out. "Accepting your terms," I said simply. "You wanted an open relationship. So we have one. Starting now." Grace stood up, still smiling. "Saturday works perfectly for me. I know this great Italian place downtown." "Wait. No, I didn't mean," my wife started, but I cut her off. "You announced it to everyone here. 20 witnesses. You meant it." She looked around the room, desperately searching for support, but everyone was either staring at their drinks or trying not to laugh. A few people were definitely trying not to laugh. "This isn't funny," she snapped, her voice getting higher. "You're absolutely right," I agreed. "It's not funny at all, but it is what it is. You made the rules, I'm just following them." Grace grabbed her jacket from the back of the couch. "I should probably head out. This got interesting fast." She looked at me. "Text me the details for Saturday?" "Will do." She walked past my wife without even glancing at her and headed for the door. As she left, she called back, "Thanks for the party, Bradley. Always entertaining at your place." The door clicked shut behind her. My wife was still standing there, frozen, her face cycling through about 5 different emotions per second. Shock, anger, disbelief, panic. "Can we talk outside?" she finally said, her voice shaking. "Sure." We walked out to the driveway. The second we were out of earshot, she grabbed my arm. "What the hell was that? You're actually going to go out with Grace? You announced we have an open relationship. In front of everyone. So yes, I'm going to go out with Grace. That's how open relationships work, right?" I was joking. Didn't sound like a joke. Sounded pretty definitive to me. She started pacing, running her hands through her hair. "You're being ridiculous. You know I didn't mean it like that." "Then how did you mean it?" "Because from where I was standing, you told a room full of our friends that our marriage is now open. You didn't ask me privately. You didn't discuss it. You announced it, like it was already decided. I wanted to see how you'd react." There it was, the truth slipping out. "You wanted to test me," I said. "You wanted to embarrass me, see if I'd beg or make a scene. Maybe you wanted an excuse to do something you've been planning anyway." Her eyes went wide. "That's not. Save it. We both know what's been going on. The late nights. The way you've been talking about Trevor from your office. The constant hints about how other couples spice things up. You've been building up to this for months." She opened her mouth, then closed it. No denial came. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued, keeping my voice level. "You wanted an open relationship. Fine. We have one. But that goes both ways. You don't get to set the rules and then change them when you don't like how the game is going. This is insane. No. What's insane is making that announcement at a party without talking to your husband first. What's insane is expecting me to just sit there and take it. But here we are. I walked back toward the house to grab my keys. She followed, still talking, but I wasn't really listening anymore. The party had pretty much died. People were awkwardly gathering their things, thanking Bradley and Natalie, and making quick exits. Bradley caught my eye as I headed for the door. He didn't say anything, just gave me this slight nod. Respect, maybe, or sympathy. Hard to tell. I drove home alone. She stayed at the party, probably trying to explain herself to anyone who would listen. When I got home, I sat on the couch in the quiet house and thought about how we got here. The truth is, I'd seen this coming. Not this exactly, but something. She'd been different for the past 6 months. More distant, more critical, always testing, always pushing. I'd just been too comfortable, too willing to ignore the signs. Not anymore. My phone buzzed. A text from Grace. Just so you know, I meant what I said. Saturday sounds great. But also, she had that coming. Been waiting for someone to call her bluff for years. I smiled and typed back. Saturday at 7. I'll pick you up. This was going to be interesting. She came home around midnight. I heard her car pull into the driveway, then the front door opening. I was still on the couch, watching nothing in particular on TV. We need to talk, she said, dropping her purse on the counter. Go ahead. She sat down across from me, trying to look composed but failing. Her makeup was smudged and she'd been crying. Good. What happened tonight was completely out of line. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. I had to laugh at that. I embarrassed you? That's rich. I'm serious. You asked out Grace right in front of me, right after I made a simple comment. A simple comment? You announced to a room full of people that we're in an open relationship. That's not a comment. That's a declaration. I was tipsy. I wasn't thinking clearly. You had 3 glasses of wine over 2 hours. You knew exactly what you were doing. She changed tactics, her voice getting softer. Baby, please. Can we just forget this happened? I made a mistake. I'm sorry. No. What do you mean, no? I mean, no, we're not forgetting this happened. You don't get to drop a bomb like that and then pretend it never happened when you don't like the results. Her face hardened. So you're actually going through with this? You're going to go out with Grace? Yes. She's my friend. Was your friend. Pretty sure that friendship died the second she said she could do everything better than you. And honestly, she probably can. That hit a nerve. Her eyes flashed with anger. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. Something you clearly struggle with. She stood up, pacing now. This is ridiculous. You can't just start dating other people because of one stupid thing I said at a party. Watch me. I'll tell everyone you're having an affair. I turned off the TV and looked at her directly. Go ahead. Tell them. Tell them about the affair that you gave me permission to have when you announced our open relationship. I'm sure that'll go over great. She realized the trap she'd walked into. Her mouth opened, then closed. Here's what I think really happened, I said, standing up. I think you've been planning this for a while. You've been testing me, seeing how much you could get away with. Trevor from your office, those late-night texts you think I don't notice, the way you talk about him constantly. You wanted permission to cheat without the guilt. That's not. Don't lie to me. Not now. I'm done with the games. Fine, she shouted. Fine. Yes, Trevor and I have gotten close. But nothing happened. I was trying to be honest about my feelings, trying to open up communication. By announcing it at a party? That's your idea of communication. I thought you'd understand. Other couples do this. They explore. They don't get so uptight about. Other couples talk about it first. They don't ambush their spouse in front of 20 people. She was crying again now, but I couldn't tell if it was genuine or performance. With her, it was always hard to tell. So what now, she asked. You're just going to throw away 7 years of marriage because of one fight. This isn't about one fight. This is about months of you being distant, critical, and dismissive. This is about you constantly talking about how boring our life is, how other people have it better, how you deserve more excitement. You've been checking out of this marriage for a long time. Tonight you just made it official. That's not fair. Life's not fair. You taught me that tonight. I grabbed my phone and headed for the bedroom. I'm going to sleep. We can talk more tomorrow if you want, but my answer isn't going to change. You set the rules. Now you get to live with them. Where do I sleep? Guest room or the couch? Your choice. I closed the bedroom door and locked it. Not because I was afraid of her, but because I needed the boundary. Physical and emotional. My phone buzzed. Another text from Grace. I'm guessing she didn't take it well. That's an understatement. Want my advice? Sure. Don't back down. She's been walking all over you for months. Everyone's noticed. This is the first time you've stood up for yourself. Keep standing. I stared at that message for a long time. Everyone noticed. Of course they did. I'd been so focused on trying to make her happy, trying to be the good husband, that I'd missed how obvious it all was to everyone else. Thanks, I typed back. I needed to hear that. That's what friends are for. See you Saturday. And for what it's worth, I'm actually looking forward to it. I smiled despite everything. Me too. The next morning, she tried again. Made breakfast, acted sweet, pretended nothing had happened. I ate in silence, thanked her for the food, and went to work. She called me 6 times during the day. I let them all go to voicemail. By the time I got home that evening, she'd moved to anger again. You're being childish. This silent treatment is immature. I'm not giving you the silent treatment. I just don't have anything to say that I didn't already say last night. So that's it. You're really doing this. Yes. Fine. Then I'm going out Friday night. Since we're in an open relationship now. Have fun. That stopped her cold. She expected jealousy, anger, a fight. Instead, I just went to the kitchen and started making dinner. You don't even care? She asked, following me. You announced we're open. I accepted. What you do with your time is your business now. You're trying to call my bluff. I looked at her while chopping vegetables. No bluff. You wanted this. You got it. But here's the thing you didn't think through. It goes both ways. You don't get to have your freedom while keeping me in a cage. She didn't have an answer for that. Friday came. She got dressed up, spent 2 hours on her makeup, and left around 8. I ordered pizza, watched a movie, and went to bed early. She came home before midnight. I heard her come in, heard her crying in the guest room. Part of me wanted to feel bad. 7 years together, that means something. But a bigger part of me remembered that room full of people, that smug smile on her face, the way she thought she had everything figured out. Saturday morning, I got up early and hit the gym. When I came back, she was sitting at the kitchen table with coffee, looking miserable. How was last night? I asked, pouring my own cup. I didn't go through with it, she admitted quietly. I met Trevor for drinks. We talked, and I realized I didn't actually want to do this. Okay, that's all you have to say. What do you want me to say? That I'm proud of you for not cheating? You want a medal? I want you to cancel your date with Grace. Not happening. Why? If I didn't go through with mine, why should you go through with yours? I sat down across from her. Because mine was never about Trevor or anyone else. This is about respect. You disrespected me publicly, tried to humiliate me, and then got shocked when I didn't just take it. Grace and I going to dinner isn't about romance or revenge. It's about me showing you, and showing myself, that I'm not going to be treated like that anymore. She looked down at her coffee. I messed up. Yes, you did. Can we fix this? I don't know. Maybe. But not by me canceling tonight. That's not how this works. At 6:30, I showered and got dressed. Put on the shirt she always said she hated because it was too nice for normal occasions. Perfect. When I came out, she was on the couch, arms crossed. Have a good time, she said, not looking at me. Thanks. Don't wait up. I walked out the door, got in my car, and drove to Grace's place. Whatever happened next, at least I was finally standing up for myself. And honestly, that felt better than anything had in months. Grace answered the door in a simple black dress, her hair down, minimal makeup. She looked great without trying too hard, which was somehow more impressive. Right on time. I like that, she said, grabbing her jacket. Punctuality is one of my few virtues. She laughed. I doubt that's true, but we'll see. The drive to the restaurant was easy. No awkward silence, no forced conversation. We talked about work, about the ridiculous weather we'd been having, about how Bradley's parties always somehow turned into something memorable for the wrong reasons. So, she said as we waited for our table, how bad was it after I left? Pretty bad. She tried every trick in the book. Tears, anger, bargaining, more tears. Let me guess. She said she was joking? First thing out of her mouth. Grace shook her head. Classic move. Make a power play, then pretend it was all fun and games when it backfires. You've seen her do this before? Not this specifically, but yeah, she's always been like that. Testing boundaries, pushing buttons, seeing what she can get away with. I've watched her do it with friends, with family, with her coworkers. Honestly, I'm surprised you put up with it as long as you did. The hostess called our name and led us to a booth near the back. Once we were seated and had ordered drinks, Grace leaned forward. Can I be completely honest with you? Please. I never liked her that much. We met through mutual friends about 5 years ago, and she was always just exhausting. Everything's a competition with her. Everything's about status or perception or making sure she looks good. When she started dating you, I actually felt bad for you. Wow, don't hold back. You said I could be honest, she grinned. But seriously, you always seemed like a decent guy stuck with someone who didn't appreciate it. And these last few months, the way she'd talk about you when you weren't around, it was disrespectful. What did she say? Grace hesitated. You sure you want to know? I'm sure. She'd complain about how boring you were, how you never wanted to do anything exciting, how she felt like she was settling. Meanwhile, Trevor's name came up constantly. Trevor said this. Trevor thinks that. Trevor took his wife to this amazing place. It was obvious where her head was at. I took a drink of water, processing that. I figured as much. Just hurts to have it confirmed. I get that. But here's the thing. None of what she said was actually true. You're not boring. You're stable, which is different. You have your life together. You're responsible. You treat people with respect. That's not boring. That's being an actual adult. She wanted the fantasy, not the genuine thing. Our food arrived, and we spent the next hour just talking. About everything. Music, movies, travel, family drama, work frustrations. Grace was sharp, funny, and refreshingly direct. No games, no hidden meanings, just straightforward conversation. So what's your plan here? She asked over dessert. Are you actually trying to make this marriage work, or are you done? Honestly, I don't know yet. Part of me thinks 7 years means something. But another part of me knows you can't respect someone who treats you like that. Fair answer. For what it's worth, I think you already know what you're going to do. You're just not ready to admit it yet. And what do you think I'm going to do? Leave. Eventually. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, but you'll leave. Because once you see how you deserve to be treated, and trust me, tonight is showing you that, you won't be able to unsee it. She wasn't wrong. This evening had been effortless in a way nothing with my wife had been in years. What about you? I asked. You seeing anyone? Nope. Been single for about a year now. Last guy couldn't handle the fact that I made more money than him. His ego couldn't take it. His loss. That's what I keep telling myself, she smiled. But honestly, I'm good being single. Rather be alone than settle for someone who needs me to be smaller so they can feel bigger. We finished dinner and I drove her home. When I pulled up to her building, she turned to me. Thanks for tonight. I had a genuinely good time. Me too. Really. Can I give you some advice? Friend to friend. Sure. Whatever you decide about your marriage, make sure you're deciding for you, not because you feel guilty or obligated. 7 years is a long time, but it's not a life sentence. You deserve to be happy, and you definitely deserve to be respected. Thanks, Grace. She got out, then leaned back in through the window. And hey, if you ever want to do this again, no pressure, no expectations, just let me know. I'm always down for good conversation and better food. I'll keep that in mind. I watched her walk into her building, then sat there for a minute before driving home. The whole evening had been easy, natural, fun. Everything my marriage hadn't been in months. When I got home around 10, my wife was waiting up. She took one look at my face and her expression crumbled. You actually had a good time. It wasn't a question. Yeah, I did. With Grace. Yes, with Grace. She stood up from the couch, wrapping her arms around herself. So what now? You're just going to keep seeing her. I don't know. Maybe. We're friends. We had dinner. That's all it was. That's all it was. Do you hear yourself? You went on a date with my friend. Former friend, apparently. And yes, I went to dinner with someone who actually enjoyed my company and didn't spend the whole time making me feel inadequate. Novel concept, right? She flinched at that. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? None of this is fair. But it's happening because you made it happen. You set this in motion, and now you're upset because I'm not playing the role you assigned me. I didn't think you'd actually go through with it. And that's the problem right there. You thought you could control how I reacted. You thought I'd just sit there and take it, maybe get upset, maybe beg you to reconsider. You never considered that I might just accept your terms and move on. She was crying now, but I couldn't bring myself to care the way I used to. Are you in love with her? No. I barely know her. But I like her. I respect her. And she respects me. That's more than I can say about us lately. So that's it. We're done. I didn't say that. But we're definitely not okay. And pretending we are isn't going to fix anything. I walked past her toward the bedroom. I'm tired. We can talk more tomorrow if you want. But right now, I just want to sleep. In our bed. Yes, in our bed. You can keep the guest room. I closed the door and got ready for bed. My phone buzzed with a text from Grace. Made it home safe. Thanks again for tonight. You're good company. I smiled and typed back. You too. Let's do it again sometime. Deal. And hey, good luck with whatever comes next. You've got this. I set the phone down and lay there in the dark, thinking about everything. About my wife's face when I came home happy. About how easy it was to talk to Grace. About 7 years of marriage versus the rest of my life. Grace was right. I already knew what I was going to do. I just wasn't ready to say it out loud yet. But I was getting there. Monday morning came with a text at 6 a.m. It was from Bradley. Dude, your wife just called Natalie having a complete meltdown. Said Grace is trying to steal you. Just giving you a heads up. I sighed and texted back. Thanks for the warning. By the time I got to work, I had 4 missed calls from her and a dozen texts. I scrolled through them during my lunch break. They ranged from apologetic to accusatory to desperate, sometimes all in the same message. The last one said, "We need to talk. Tonight. This is serious." I typed back, "Fine. I'll be home by 6. Work was busy enough to keep my mind occupied, but every time my phone buzzed, I could feel the tension building. This was going to be ugly. I got home at 6:15. She was sitting at the dining table with her laptop open, papers spread out in front of her. Her eyes were red from crying, but her jaw was set. Determined. "Sit down," she said. "What's all this?" "Our finances. I've been going through everything. If we're really doing this open relationship thing, we need to establish boundaries. Ground rules." I had to laugh. "Now you want rules? After the fact. I'm trying to fix this. I'm trying to make it work." "No, you're trying to control the situation because it's not going the way you planned." She slammed her hand on the table. "Stop acting like you're the victim here. You're the one who went out with my friend. You're the one who's been rubbing it in my face. I went to dinner with someone who treats me with respect. Once. Meanwhile, you've been emotionally involved with Trevor for months. Don't pretend this started with me. Nothing happened with Trevor. Yet. Nothing happened yet. But you wanted it to. That's why you made that announcement. You wanted permission without having to actually ask for it." She stood up, pacing. "Fine. You want the truth? Yes, Trevor and I have chemistry. Yes, I've thought about it. But I didn't act on it because I'm trying to save our marriage. By announcing we're in an open relationship at a party, that's your idea of saving our marriage. I thought if we opened things up, we could explore and then come back to each other stronger. Other couples do it. Other couples communicate first. They don't blindside each other in front of their entire social circle." She grabbed her phone, scrolling frantically. "Look, I found this therapist who specializes in non-traditional relationships. We can go talk to someone. Figure out how to make this work." "I don't want to make this work." The words came out before I even realized I was saying them. But once they were out there, I knew they were true. She froze. "What? I don't want to make this work. Not like this. Not anymore." "You're giving up? Just like that? Just like that? This has been building for months. Years, maybe. We've been coasting, pretending everything's fine while we both knew it wasn't. You made that announcement because some part of you wanted out but didn't have the guts to just say it. That's not true. Then why did you do it? Give me one good reason why you thought that was a good idea." She opened her mouth, then closed it. No answer came. "That's what I thought," I said quietly. "You wanted permission to explore other options while keeping me as a safety net. But you didn't expect me to actually take you up on it. You expected me to fight for you, to prove I still wanted you. Classic move. Stop analyzing me like I'm some case study. I'm your wife. Are you? Because wives don't do what you did. Partners don't humiliate each other in front of their friends. People who love each other don't treat each other like game pieces." She sat back down, her anger deflating into something that looked like genuine panic. "So what are you saying? You want a divorce?" "I'm saying I want to talk to a lawyer and understand my options. What happens after that, I don't know yet." "You can't be serious." "I'm completely serious. This isn't working. It hasn't been working, and I'm done pretending it is." The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove across town to a legal office. The attorney, a woman named Mrs. Fisher, listened to my story without interrupting. Do you have any children? She asked when I finished. No. Joint accounts. We have a shared checking account for bills, but we both have separate savings accounts. We've always kept our finances mostly separate. Property. We rent. Lease is in both our names, but it's up for renewal in 3 months. She made notes on her legal pad. That simplifies things considerably. How long have you been married? 7 years. And you're certain you want to pursue divorce? I thought about it for exactly 2 seconds. Yes. All right. Here's what I recommend. She spent the next hour walking me through the process, explaining what I needed to gather, what to expect, what my rights were. It was clinical, methodical, and strangely comforting. This wasn't emotional anymore. It was just logistics. I left her office with a folder full of papers and a clearer head than I'd had in weeks. When I got home that afternoon, my wife's car wasn't there. I used the time to start sorting through things. What was mine? What was hers? What we'd bought together? It was depressing how little we actually shared beyond the basics. She came home around 7, carrying takeout bags. I got Chinese. Your favorite. Can we just have a normal dinner and talk about this like adults? Sure. We ate in near silence. She kept glancing at me, clearly wanting to say something, but holding back. Finally, she set down her fork. I saw Grace today. Okay. I went to her office. I needed to talk to her. I put down my own fork. And she told me we're not friends anymore. She said I've been a terrible friend for years and that she's glad someone finally called me on it. Then she told me to leave. What did you expect? You announced your open relationship. I asked her out in front of everyone, and she agreed. That friendship was over the second she said yes. She said other things too. About how I've treated you. About how everyone's noticed. About how I'm controlling and manipulative, and her voice cracked. Is that really what everyone thinks of me? Probably. She looked like I'd slapped her. How can you just sit there and say that? Because it's true. You want everyone to think you're this fun, spontaneous person, but really you're just exhausting. Every interaction is a power play. Every conversation has an agenda. People are tired of it. I'm tired of it. So you've already made up your mind. About everything. I talked to a lawyer today. The color drained from her face. You what? I talked to a lawyer. Filed the initial paperwork. We're getting divorced. She stood up so fast her chair fell backward. You can't do that. You can't just decide that without talking to me. Kind of like how you can announce we're in an open relationship without talking to me first. That's different. How? How is it different? She couldn't answer. She just stood there, shaking, tears streaming down her face. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight, I said, standing up. We can figure out the living situation this week. The lease is up in 3 months anyway. This is insane. You're throwing away 7 years over one mistake. It wasn't one mistake. It was 7 years of mistakes building up to one public humiliation. You want to know the worst part? I'm not even angry anymore. I'm just done. I walked to the guest room and closed the door. My phone buzzed almost immediately. Grace, heard you had a visit from your wife today. She seemed unstable. You okay? Yeah, just filed for divorce. It's getting messy. Need anything? Coffee? Someone to talk to? Witness protection. Despite everything, I smiled. I'm good, but thanks for checking. Anytime. And hey, I meant what I told her. You deserve better than how she's treated you. Working on believing that. You'll get there. I lay there in the unfamiliar bed, in what used to be our home, thinking about how fast everything had changed. 1 week ago, I was at a party. Now I was filing for divorce. But for the first time in years, I felt like I was actually moving forward instead of just treading water. Tomorrow would bring more drama, more arguments, more complications. But tonight, I was okay with where things stood. Progress, not perfection. The next few weeks were a blur of paperwork and difficult conversations. My wife alternated between begging me to reconsider and threatening to make the divorce as difficult as possible. Neither approach worked. What surprised me most was the reaction from our friends. I expected divided loyalties, awkward silences, people choosing sides. Instead, almost everyone reached out to me privately. Bradley called me one night. Man, I've been waiting for you to wake up for 2 years. She's been talking down to you in front of everyone since forever. We all noticed. Natalie sent a long text apologizing for not saying something sooner. I wanted to tell you so many times how she talked about you behind your back. I just didn't know how. Even people from her side started reaching out. Her cousin called to say she wasn't surprised. and that my wife had always been difficult. Her coworker mentioned that Trevor had actually rejected her advances weeks ago, which explained the timing of her party announcement. That hit different. She didn't want an open relationship. She wanted validation after being rejected. Grace and I met for coffee one afternoon. Just as friends, no pretense. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "Better than I expected. Turns out everyone knew how bad things were except me. You weren't blind. You were just trying to make it work. There's a difference." She's been telling people I abandoned her, that I gave up without trying. Grace snorted. Let her talk. Anyone who was at that party knows the truth. She made her bed. Now she gets to lie in it alone. The divorce moved forward quickly. No kids, minimal shared assets, clear timeline. My lawyer said it was one of the smoothest cases she'd handled in years. My wife tried one last manipulation. She showed up at my new place with tears and apologies, saying she'd changed, that she understood now what she'd lost. "I can be better," she sobbed. "I can be the wife you deserve. Maybe you can, but not for me." That ship sailed the moment you made that announcement. Because of one stupid mistake? Because of 7 years of mistakes I ignored. The party just made it impossible to ignore anymore. She left without another word. 2 months later, the divorce was final. I kept my car, my savings, my peace of mind. She kept hers. We split the furniture we'd bought together and went our separate ways. Grace texted me the day the papers were signed. "Congratulations on your freedom." "Drinks?" "Absolutely." We met at a bar downtown. Not a date, just two friends celebrating a new chapter. "So what now?" she asked, raising her glass. "Now? I figure out who I am without someone telling me who I should be." That's the best answer you could have given. We clinked glasses. "To new beginnings." "To new beginnings," she echoed. I didn't know what came next. Maybe something would develop with Grace eventually, maybe not. Either way, I was finally free to find out on my own terms. And that was worth everything. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Bradley at the grocery store. "How's life treating you?" he asked. "Good. Actually good, not just saying it." "You look different." "Happier." "I am. Turns out not walking on eggshells every day does wonders for your mental health." He laughed. "Heard she moved to Colorado. Fresh start, apparently. Good for her. Hope she figures herself out." And I meant it. I didn't hate her anymore. I just didn't think about her much at all. Grace and I stayed friends. We got dinner once a month, texted occasionally, kept it simple. No drama, no expectations. Just two people who enjoyed each other's company. One evening over pizza, she brought it up. "You know we're never going to date, right?" "Yeah, I know." "Good. Just making sure we're on the same page. You're a great guy, but I like what we have. No complications." "Same here. Plus, you did kind of help blow up my marriage." "Hey, your marriage blew itself up. I just provided the match." We both laughed. It was true. I focused on myself for the first time in years. Hit the gym regularly, picked up hobbies I'd abandoned, reconnected with old friends. Started dating casually, nothing serious, just figuring out what I actually wanted. Turned out I wanted someone who respected me. Someone who didn't need games or tests or public announcements to feel powerful. Someone who saw partnership as teamwork, not competition. A year after that party, Bradley threw another gathering. Same house, same crowd, minus one notable absence. Someone asked where my ex-wife was. Nobody really cared about the answer. I stood in that same kitchen where everything had started, beer in hand, talking with friends who actually gave a damn. Grace was across the room, making everyone laugh with some story about her latest work disaster. Life was simple now, peaceful, exactly what I needed. Later that night, driving home, I thought about that moment at the party, when she'd made her announcement and expected me to crumble. When I looked at Grace and asked her out instead. Best decision I ever made. Not because of Grace specifically, but because I finally chose myself. The party that was supposed to humiliate me ended up setting me free, and I wouldn't change a single thing.